some, well, I don't know if it's a whole lot of victories in it. But anyway, y'all probably know that I participate in running as a hobby and also as a health benefit. And I just stuck with that ever since my school years, because my dad, who just passed away a couple of months ago, had heart disease. But I look at it as a good fortune that we were able to have another 21 years with him after his first attack. The surgeons and medicine today is pretty incredible at what they can do. But anyway, we do that, and as a family also, my sons are starting to get into it, and we enjoy it. But I don't know if y'all ever heard Zig Ziglar's story about how he got into running. And he was overweight, and he decided that he didn't want to be that way, and he wanted to shape up and get healthy. And if you remember the story, he's comical, and he says, you know, I want to look like the guy in the ad with the jockey shorts. Because they don't put fat boys in jockey shorts. So he said he'd have to motivate himself and push himself on to get out there, out on the road early in the morning before the sun comes up and it's dark. And so he's motivating himself, instead of starting out with a block, and then a block in a mailbox, and then just went on from there. And he'd have to talk to himself. He'd have to give himself that self-talk. You know, he'd say, man, Zig, you crazy. What's wrong with you, Ziggler? You crazy. You're going to kill yourself out here. You fat boy like you trying to run this early in the morning. What you think you are? You think some kind of superstar or something? What's wrong with you? He said, but you said you were going to do it, and you're going to do it, and we're going to lose this weight. We're going to get in shape. We're going to get healthy. You got to pay the price. Sound like a dying cow out there. That's the way he told the story. It reminds me of my son Peter. I told that story to the family when he was about Patrick's age. I think Patrick's about 7. And he was out doing what kids do at that age and playing with the creatures, you know, out in the yard. This was 2 houses ago. I think he had dug up a little frog or something. And I wasn't there for it, but they said he had this frog he was playing with, and he told him, he said, you got to pay the price! And he chunks the frog across the yard. Not sure where that came from. But I don't instill in the kids to be harmful to creatures, God's creatures, but it's just kind of funny. But he goes on, the moral of the story is you don't pay the price for good health. You enjoy the benefits of good health. We don't pay the price of a strong family. We enjoy the benefits of a strong family. We don't pay the price for a strong faith. We enjoy the benefits of a strong faith. We don't pay the price for stable finances. We enjoy the benefits of stable finances. That's victory. And first and foremost, we're looking at where we started today with Monsignor Corbill, victory for our souls. The devil longs to capture the souls of ourselves, our wives, and our children. But also seeks to do us harm in this life as well. And God wants everything that's good for us. But when we focus on the activity that we're doing, we might say, well, I might not want to do the schoolwork right now. Or I might not want to do the disciplining right now. Or whatever, you know, and we start looking at those things instead of asking the question, why am I homeschooling? If we get bogged down in the activity and human nature takes over and we start to look for the easy, it's a whole lot easier to go run that errand right now. Or to go pick up those few things at the store that I need. Or to get on the phone, or to get on the computer, or to do this and do that. When we start following, and that's why we do Lent every year, so that we can stop and look at the areas where pleasure is becoming a little bit too much important in our life. And we get outside of ourselves, we start looking at doing the things that are really going to pay off and really going to win for us. So that we're not tied up in an activity that yields no results or bad results. So that's one thing. Just what are we looking at, and where is our focus? Next thing is, and again, this is for some of us veterans that have been at this a while, and gaining the enthusiasm for homeschooling again. Helping others who may be new to homeschooling has been tremendous for us. And I've mentioned this a few times in our old prayer, and I'll just briefly mention it here. Missy is kind of like a magnet for moms that are looking for some answers. And I know all of y'all have had similar experiences, because what happens is these ladies get out there and they realize that this rat race that they were pushed into their whole life ever since they got into school is not really what I was cracked up to be. I remember Dale was saying something about Miss Sharon having some people ask her about homeschooling. And she's just walking around in the store at Walmart, and they'll say, "You must homeschool." Y'all ever had that happen to y'all? You just out there? Yup. And you're like going, "How do you know?" What gave me away, Why? What's wrong? Yeah. But it's true. When you start answering those questions, doesn't it build up some excitement in you? Whenever you start helping somebody out and answering those questions, it gives you that much more excitement about what you're doing. Then don't you look at schooling differently when you go back with your kids the next day? Then another thing that helps to keep the kids excited is just having some type of outside activity, extracurricular activities. And I know back in the day, in my school days, my dad was one who he was one that didn't believe in that at all. He was saying education is everything. And you got to do well academically to be able to function in this world and get a good job on. And then you see the people. I'm noticing people that can do it without, but it all depends on what God's calling you to do. But so I had to beg to do extracurricular activities. But what it does for these kids, and just keeping a balance in everything. Besides, just the books. We got to do the books. We got to do the schoolwork. But just having something else, and it's good to have it as a family type of thing. Preferably something home-based where we're not running the roads a lot. But just giving them something else to do to that creative side, or that maybe that athletic side, if that's what they possess. Something that where their interests, their personal interests lie. And it's similar to what we do with the fair, of having us do things with the kids. Might be sports, woodworking, crafts, sewing. With the young ladies, cooking and baking, gardening, and putting out flowers, planting flowers, beautifying, for the ladies and young girls. Just the whole idea of beautifying the environment, the home. It's something that's lost today because of the rat race. They might be interested in music, developing their talents there. Not video games and not TV. That don't count. That does not count. Something where they could be just a tad more creative and productive with what they're doing. And then another thing that's helpful, that the parents, mom and dad, it's good for us, is just exercising. Whether it be walking or with exercise videos or whatever. Just the whole the way it helps in our thinking and our attitude. It helps us to stimulate our minds better, clear our heads, to be able to get out there and catch some fresh air. And as adults, we don't always do it. And then just a little, I remember something that was very comforting to us, and especially to my wife, years and years ago, when we went to a pretty big homeschool conference for the young moms out there, where you got maybe 3 kids under 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and you sit there saying, he's up there saying to do what? What else besides what I'm already doing? Because you got the whole house, 3 little bitty kids, and the lady up there just said, y'all just hang tight, just get through that stage, because it's going to get better. But when you start to have the older kids getting older and starting to help out around the house, and it's just a phase, a stage that's pretty. It's kind of tough, but you end up looking back on it with some satisfaction of saying those weren't some bad times at all. Now all this, I'm talking about making sure we get the academic work in, make sure we get it done, and that's kind of the hard thing. That's given that we first start off with discipline and order in the home, which we as dads need to make sure we instill and are staying on top of. So if we're away from home during the day, we're checking with our wives on returning. How are the kids behaving? And are they really able, because they might be all willing to do the book work, the moms might be, but if the kids are out of control or not behaving, then again, it's not going to compute. It's not much is going to happen there. So that's the start of it. But then, to win, for victory, we have to do the difficult things. The things that may not feel good, may not be comfortable. We have to do those things first. Put some priority to academics. It's going to be different for young child versus older child, or college bound versus not college bound, depending on what God is calling them to. It's going to vary, but putting in the amount of time necessary depending on the situation, it's going to yield the results, and that's what we need to focus on, results. And this is why only 5% of people succeed as far as becoming the person God made for them to be and intended for them to be. Because we end up getting bogged down in activity instead of focusing on the results we want. When we look at activity, we do the easier thing. We do the more pleasurable thing. We do the comfortable thing. And this is victory. Becoming everything that God intended for us to be. God willing.